Alright, so here's our step-by-step for this. First thing we should have done was, the majority of that slop's going to be at these ends. Look at that. Curling it up like in real time. It revs way quicker now though. Well, here is our rebuild kit. Main jet, pilot jet, air fuel, 2 new springs, an E-clip, 3 crush washers, a needle and a needle seat with a crush washer, the 2 gaskets, mainly this gasket that we needed the most. So what it did not include is the piece the needle jet goes in. Still don't remember the name, but okay, most importantly is that it has an O-ring on it. Is it going to focus or no? So that is a flattened O-ring in there. And it did not include any O-rings. It didn't include this piece. So these are out of a Harbor Freight kit, a Viton kit. So they're gas resistant O-rings. They look like they're going to work, but they might be too big. We might have to try to shave them down a little bit. So once I peel this off of here, there's no turning back, but that doesn't look like it's sealing much anyway. So we're going to go for it and see what happens. What's the worst that can happen, right? Yeah, it feels like plastic. Like I don't think I'll be able to get this off of here without just destroying it. Oh yeah, look at that crumble. So we're going to need to clean this piece up much better, but what we can do is kind of test fit this real quick. Yeah, so that's for sure too big. Alright, here's how we're doing it. We're sticking this O-ring on this drill bit, and it's a pretty good stretch on there. And then we're going to make sure that it's not twisted. We want it to be basically, you see a seam on it. So we want it like that. We're going to put it in the drill. We're going to get it straightened up. And then we have some emery cloth stapled to a piece of wood from some other thing. And we are just going to do this. Getting it thin is the trickiest part, so we're doing this part first because this is like super simple. Turned inside out. Now you can see it's kind of weird shaped. Now we're going to take this drill bit, which is really close to the same size. It doesn't take anything at all to put this one on here. And then a custom made washer. Scoot that down. Now we can thin this part of it out. That is really close. In fact, that's probably close enough to where I am going to just put that in there. You can see it doesn't fit at all. I'm just going to kind of make sure that that's squished in. Come on, focus. I know you can do it. Just pressing it in. I'm going to put that in there. And then alright, it went all the way down. And then pull it back out. And then we can discard that. And then we have a perfect fit O-ring. So we just need to do that twice, and so I've already did that with the other one. Here's my other O-ring. And I didn't take this off yet because the process of making that O-ring actually sucked and got me a little nervous that I'm going to be waiting on shipping again. Alright, we got them cleaned up, and I noticed something on this one. It's a little boogered up. That hole right there looks like it got a little boogered up, so we're going to take this drill jet and we're going to take this Q-tip, put some brake cleaner on it. See that? It's quite a bit in there. Alright, the next thing we're going to do is replace these diaphragms. This being stiff can cause like sluggish acceleration, basically cause like a rich condition. Because whenever you rev it up, when the engine makes a vacuum, it'll pull this out of the way and allow air to come in. So if it does that slow, then obviously it's going to cause a rich condition. And then whenever you let off, this goes back down for it to like idle down. It can have like a hanging idle. And to give you an idea, it's hard to demonstrate how stiff these are, but I mean it's pretty stiff. So here's a new one, just to give you an idea how soft this is. right? Like it is a lot softer. So what we're going to do is, this has a little lip in it, and it's going to ride in a groove on this plastic piece right here. And we need to keep this plastic piece, but we need to cut it off. There's really no realistic way to get that off there and back on. So this is how we're going to cut it off. So we're going to take a piece of wood, put this right here, get a box cutter, and we're going to make a single cut. What you should do first before we do that is you note the orientation of this tab with this. On this particular model, the tab lines up with the center of that slope. This one was already kind of like broke loose, so I can just kind of spin that anywhere, but ideally all this should be like glued and locked in, because if this starts walking, that'll definitely cause you issues. So we know that it's the center of that slope. So I'm going to cut it in between two of these little dots just so it's easier to cut. So I just cut like halfway through, and it kind of just broke, like split on its own. So now what we can do is take this off, and you can kind of see, look at that. Alright, so here's our step-by-step for this. First thing we should have done was mark where the tab was, right? In this case, it's the center of the slope. And what we're going to do is I'm going to eyeball it, and then I'm going to double check my eyeball. So we'll put a little dot there, and just using like a razor blade, and yeah, that looks center, and then we'll line these two holes up. So probably right there, like the center of that mark. Yeah, that looks good. And we're going to double check that real quick. We're going to test fit this. I'm going to give myself just a kind of a mark here to go off of. This one doesn't have to be perfect. Just something to look at, like right there, so it's easier to see. So what we're going to do is we're going to test fit this first to make sure that this top piece doesn't need trimmed or anything. So I'm going to get this. It's mostly in the groove. We can get it not in the groove in one spot, so it looks like it's not in there very good right here. So we're going to put the gap for this ring right there. I got it upside down. And then that one spot we can tug it just a little bit, and then we should be able to squeeze that. So see, that didn't go together very good. So I think it's bunched up or in a bind somewhere. So I'm going to try to gently pull on it on all angles. Well, I don't like the way it's fitting. We're going to take it off for that reason. But if it fit good, then what we're going to do is we're going to line up our mark, which looks like I got pretty close, just getting there. But at this point, we can spin it. so we can adjust it. And one thing you want to do with this plastic piece is deburr it. Everywhere it's going to touch that rubber, you need to make sure that there's no sharp edges anywhere. So we're going to try to test fit this again, and we're just going to keep doing it until we either convince ourselves that something else is wrong, or we need to shave a little bit off of this to make that fit right. So you see, this time I can close that gap up all the way this time. Okay, so we're good with that. So let's line this up. In the other video I watched of somebody doing this, I absolutely disagree with how they did it. We'll get to that in just a second. We're going to put this in here. We're going to line this tab up right here. And we're going to make sure that that looks like it's perfectly centered. It looks good. So the way that I saw someone else do it is basically they took that first layer, they put glue down, and then they put this on here, and then put glue down, and then put this piece on here. And like you get no second chances at all. So I thought that was stupid. So this is how I'm doing it, is we are going to do, it's a similar method. We're going to get ourselves a zip tie here. We're going to get it prepped to squeeze and tighten real good. So we want to get it snug, but we don't want it closing that gap up on us just yet. And we are going to put the smallest dot, and when I say the smallest dot, we need to like learn what this thing is doing, like how big a dot from just dabbing it. So we're going to put like the smallest dot right there in the back. And then we're going to tighten this up. Well, before we tighten this up, we're going to squeeze it, and we're going to make sure that glue doesn't get all over this diaphragm. Like, we want it to touch the plastic, but we don't want it making a mess everywhere. So I could see it kind of juicing up in the middle right here. So now we're going to put our zip tie on here. Make sure you're not pinching the rubber. Tighten that zip tie tight to where our gap's closed up. I'm going to put another dot on it up here. Like that. And then I want it to dry like this. Let's double check our mark real quick. Alright, still looks good. Yeah. Yeah, I want it to dry like this, leaning like that. So we'll put a fan on it, make it dry quicker, and then come back. We're going to make sure that we're lined up still. Okay. So now I'm going to take some more super glue and we're going to put it around this ring right here. Basically glue the plastic to the metal. Then we'll let that dry. And now we can put some right here. Plastic to metal again. And then we'll let that dry. If you use too much glue on the split, what happens is this. It oozes out and wants to drip down to where this is in like a real pinch spot. Now when you put this in, it doesn't go all the way down and pull like that anyway. I mean, it only goes down to like there. So you get a little bit on there, it's probably okay. I tried to clean it up with some acetone and it looked like I was wearing a little spot into it. And the kit that I bought came with 4 of these and I only need 2, so I went ahead and just yanked it off. But that's why I emphasized holding it like this, only putting it like halfway down, and then kind of test squeezing it. So we didn't get new drain bolts, which means we need to salvage these. We have, this one looks pretty usable. This one has the crush washer like mangled onto the brass. It needs to be separated, and I need some edges to be able to retighten this. So we're gonna go use like a Dremel bit or something and try to turn this back into a bolt, or at least 2 slots for like a crescent wrench. Alright, so I kind of modified these a little bit. We don't have exact fits. This is I guess a 9mm now. Very tight 9mm. And then this one is a 12.3/8 now, and only a 12.3/8. But that'll be enough for us to, good old ultrasonic doing its job again. That'll be enough for us to get them on there, and they'll be good. And then I got some new crush washers for it. I don't know if one of these crush washers that came in the kit is for this drain plug or not. We'll use these aluminum ones and then see if we're missing one at the end. Since we have our drain plugs out, let's go ahead and start on the float bowl. Our new main jet is the same as the other one. It's a 135. And it looks good. So we're going to use the new one. And then our pilot was the same size. It was a 27.5. And these looked good as well. So we're going to go ahead and use that, especially since we had a bad one that got all chewed up. Take and reassemble our little centerpiece. Now we have our new float needle seat. And there's our new needle. We're just going to set that there for a minute. And we have a new air fuel screw. It's got a little baby O-ring compared to the old ones. The old one looks all flattened out. So we are going to use this. And we got a new spring for it. I think these were the springs, the original springs that came off of it. But if we look at that, it's just kind of awkward to like compress that to get it threaded. So we're going to go ahead and use these new springs. Okay, I guess we're not going to use the new springs because the new spring's actually too big and doesn't fit. Good job, China. Try it one more time. Yeah, I won't go past that spot. Okay, so old spring it is. Let's just get that seated. So for these particular carbs, the 7879 BS38 carb, you're supposed to be 2 1/4 out, according to the factory sheet. So we're kind of diagonal. We're going to do half turn, 1 turn, half turn, 2 turns, and 1/4. So that's where it says it should be. Got our fresh needle. And then we're going to do a couple things with these floats. We already tested them to make sure they were buoyant. But the spec for these, this is a 79. These are BS38 carbs. Is supposed to be 24 millimeter plus or minus 1 millimeter. And the spec sheet that I had, it does not specify if you should measure from this mating surface or this flange, but in general you always measure from the mating surface. So if we measure from the mating surface, and usually you would open this up and then let these kind of fall like that, and then take your measurement like that with this at like a 85-degree angle. But this needle is new with the spring good, and there's no change from here to here. So for simplicity's sake, I'm just gonna do it like this. Well, kind of. I guess I'm gonna tip it for the video. And then we're gonna take our caliper. So we're at 26.8, so we're pretty far off. The other thing before I get too deep into that is this. That's going to throw it off too. So I'm going to see if I can squeeze this just a little bit to make that tighten up. I'm going to adjust these to where if I squeeze too hard, they just go into like lock mode instead of actually destroying this thing. The majority of that slop's going to be at these ends, so I'm not going to be trying to squeeze it in the middle. And we can take this pin, get an idea if we're getting anywhere with just the pin. Okay, I believe I got that slop out. Squeezing the ends. Yeah, it's definitely better than it was. So I think the leftover slop is in this part, which cannot be rectified easily. Yeah, I got rid of virtually all of it in this piece with this like floating on here. Alright, so now we're going to take our measurements and we're going to adjust it based on that. So let's see. So we're still about the same. We need to check both sides too to make sure it's not like skewed. So that's the same. So we're at 26. So we need it to go down, which means we need to bend this up. Getting closer. So it's touching based on how square I'm holding this. And I got this locked to 24.1. So we're going to call that good. So now, this is basically what we bought this kit for, was to get a gasket, even though we used a whole bunch of other stuff. This is what we actually needed. what we're going to do before we do that is we're going to take this old nasty piece of fuel line. It stinks. Cut some of that nasty stuff off here. And then we're going to blow in this and see if this seals or not. And on these particular carbs, you got to cap this because that's going to feed it to the other carbs. So that appears that it's sealing. Okay, so I found out why they had like foil and Teflon tape jammed into one of these holes. That's why. So what I am going to do is we're going to get this out. And we're going to find something that's around this size. And we do have room to come up here and put like a nut on it. I'm going to find like a machine screw with a little baby nut, or I'm going to find something slightly bigger and make new threads. Here's our custom screw. Feels like it tightened up good. Okay, now we're going to reassemble our vacuum slide. And these are the pieces for it. But according to CMSNL, it's one of the few sites I have a diagram for this. We're on the 79. If you look at this pixel here, 19, that's the spring, right? And then 20 is the E-clip, and 21 is the plastic ring. Nowhere does it show this washer. Does not show a washer anywhere. So we are not going to assemble it with the washer back on there. So it says the spring under the clip, plastic button on top, and this piece. And now we need to get that clip in there. Looks like it's holding for now. Set that in. We're going to use these little baby needle nose again. Try not to bump it. No, we just bumped it. Okay, I already had these that are modified. So we're going to try to just use these, since they fit in there a little better. I think I got it mostly in there. we go. Okay, that all looks good. Now we can set this vacuum slide in. Just kind of peek in there and make sure it looks like it's sitting. Okay, that's good. And now what we can do is the drop test. Is basically we'll plug up this vacuum port here. We'll lift this up, hold this, and this should take a long time to come down. So let me show you what happens when you spray this stuff on this rubber. This is actually carb cleaner. So we'll do like this half, this stuff. Then we're going to use non-chlorinated brake cleaner. And we'll do top right with this. And then this is the bad stuff, the chlorinated stuff. We'll do the top left with that. Alright, so that was 3 minutes. You could see this one got all lumpy. See, I got all rippled. It took a shape back, but it started to get real crazy. I don't know if this one was like that or not. This feels like it has like a fiber woven into it. This is the one that was doing the most damage. Look at that. Curling it up like in real time. And then just think if you're giving it gas and this is getting stretched, you know, it's getting moved around and whatnot. You know what's ironic is it made this one look like new. It tore up the Chinese one and then it made this one look like new. It actually feels better too. It doesn't feel like so rock hard plastic anymore. It's hilarious. Alright, let's connect these two together. We got a fresh piece of fuel line for the bridge. I'm gonna make sure it looks like the fuel line's not too long. Because if it's too long, it'll make all this other stuff not want to line up. Okay, looks good. There was actually 4 screws that were longer. And I don't think it matters, but I can see like a dark mark on this side. So that plate was like this. And 4 of these top screws were longer. Now we're going to put this choke mechanism on here. It's a bit of a puzzle, so we need to put this one on first and then slide the rod through and then get this one kind of lined up on there. Keep sliding the rod through. Like so. I can't really tell. Like it looks like it might have been right here, but that yeah, I guess they're right there. So I guess we're going to put them back where they were. I don't know the orientation of this. When the carburetors are mounted, it'd be like this. It doesn't have a choke lever. So if you're sitting on it, let's see, if you're sitting on it, it'd probably be convenient to have it straight up to where if you're sitting on it, you can like turn it manually with your hand, unless we get him like a choke cable hooked up. Okay. And then the last piece, I believe this is where this went. So the last thing we need to do is link these two together. So I'm going to back this idle screw off all the way. To where we're not touching. And it's got a little bit of resistance from the spring. So I'm going to hold this one down because this one's down right now. And then we're going to tighten this until it touches. Okay. And now they're both closed all the way. So they should both open the same. And now we can turn this idle screw back in a little bit until this is opened up just a little bit. Maybe like that. There's nothing wrong with having a couple leftover parts. I'd say we did pretty good. Alright, here's a little update. Did some assembly. I don't know if I talked about this, but we are reusing the old intake boots. I ordered some and they weren't the right size. Turns out there's a 78, 79 SE, S something else, and those two share, and that's the wrong size, and then whatever this is. And these are the BS 38 carburetors, so they didn't fit, and some Mike's website was like the only place that had them. And even if we got them, then we'd be missing like this little clamp piece. So we're putting them back on. We're going to see what happens. I ordered some 5/16 filters because there's a 5/16 inlet on the carburetor, and these came in huge, like massive. I don't know when you've ever ordered anything from China, and it's bigger than advertised, but here it is. So we've fished them in here. I didn't realize that getting the fuel lines on the carburetor while installed was that big of a deal. So we're using 1/4-inch fuel line, and I basically jammed those on there with a long pair of like needle nose vice grips with no clamps, because it's such a tight fit. Same for these are tight fit too. But our fuel petcocks that we got are 1/4-inch. So if we would have planned all this out like I was trying to use 5/16 line anyway, it wouldn't have worked out because the Chinese petcocks are smaller. So basically, this carburetor line is doing that. They're kind of crisscrossing, and then they're going to come up like this. And then the petcocks were an ordeal as well. I had to double stack the washers to get the angle right, otherwise you're just hitting frame rail. So we're about to get this on. We're going to hose clamp those ends. We got the battery charged. I tested the starter button, obviously, and our starter either has like a broken tooth on it, or the idler gear has a broken tooth, or the Bendix isn't staying engaged. Something's going off the starter. It only cranks over like a couple times and then disengages. So that's not a problem that we're going to address right now. And the owner's aware of it. He said, whatever, I got Kickstarter. But I mean, I hate to do the work that I've already done for it not to be usable. And I did hook a jumper cable up to it and tapped it, and it turned over. I just didn't hold it on there and let it crank, which in hindsight, obviously, I could have done that and said, hey, the electric start's got an issue. Let's just skip the solenoid for now. But here we are, and it is what it is. So we did get the handlebars on there. I don't know what I recorded last. Got the handlebars on there. He's got some grips that he wants. We got stuff adjusted to where that's not like hanging off all crazy now. We addressed the sticky throttle. The throttle was like sticking real bad. I'm not sure what it was. I just took this off a couple times, didn't do anything, put some grease on it, and then I peeled out this actually. This was up inside of the where the throttle cable goes in, and this got pulled out one time, and I just left it on the floor, and it works now. So I don't know if this was the cause of it being like up in here in a weird way, but it all seems fine now. So let's see if she runs. I don't think I put enough gas in it. Hear it? Alright, here we go. Nothing's pouring out on the floor, so that's a good sign. Let's see. God. Those straight pipes. Whew. We need to get the padded ones for that. So one thing I noticed is it cranked and cranked. I put a trickle charger on that battery. That could have just been a low charge on that battery. Not spinning that Bendix fast enough to keep the centrifugal force to keep it thrown out. So that's good. All right, now I got some earmuffs on. Let's do this again. Ha! There you go. No smoke. Okay, so it runs and it revs and like it all seems okay, minus at low RPM, like holding it at low RPM, it backfires. And my can's about empty. I'm gonna see if I can show you. I basically just squirted it up in here and it made it rev on this side and it killed it on that side. So let's see if it'll do it. Turn the idle up a little bit so it doesn't die as easy. So there it goes, revving up, and then if we get it right here, then it kills it on that side. So I think he's gonna have to bite the bullet and just buy those boots, and we're gonna get the proper clamp too if we're doing all that. So that's the I guess that's the next step. I'm talking to him about that right now. Let's take a look at these. So this one, I feel like is the easy one to figure out. This was the top. This spot right here. This white stuff is 3-bond. So I preemptively put a little bit of stuff on there just to try to help it seal. But you can see up here, that looks like it didn't touch anything at all. It went into like a recess. So I don't know if that's something where I need more, or maybe I can take this boot and flip it. This boot is rubbery. It still feels pliable. And then of course I don't know if I need to separate this layer, because I didn't separate that layer, and then redo that layer. This one, same thing. I put the 3-bond on both sides of this gasket, and I guess it was like this. That all looks okay, but on this one, I think I put this RTV on here, just once again preemptively to avoid an issue. But this one has a split like all the way around it. It's cracked, it's ugly. I would like to try to patch these just for the sake of knowing that all the issues are addressed, and then all we have to do is throw 2 boots at it, and then we know it's running good. So I'm thinking I'm going to take some black RTV. See, you can see it, it's like oozing out something right there. I did spray it with some brake cleaner, but I feel like that's oily. So I think I'm going to try to like patch that up, and then I don't know what I'm going to do about this gasket. We have to an extent, we have to maintain thickness for like our mounting surface. So I'll figure that out, and then let's see if it runs good after that. Okay, so it's the next day, and what we're doing as just like a proof of concept basically is I squished this to like expose like the cracks around everything, and sprayed out with brake cleaner, compressed air, backfilled it with black RTV, and then I think the leak was actually at the gaskets on both sides, not the cracks in the boot. And then I've put like black RTV all in the gasket sealing surface, and tried to clean out the dingleberries the best I could. Side here is still backfiring because I can feel it on my leg. Look at that. Fresh can. Leaking on this boot on the bottom. See, it's almost dying. Yeah, it's sucking in. It's sucking in through the boot still. It revs way quicker now, though. Feels like it's got a lot of power now. There it goes. So yeah, it's still got leaks somewhere. Our TV is not a magic wand, so, but that is definitely way better than it was. So I don't know if this is where the video ends. I'm gonna put him a zip tie. This looks like a standard bolt, and I know I don't have a standard bolt that's like that long. It's a high grade. I feel like this needs to be bolted right here. We're gonna zip tie that for now for him. He might take it as is. I don't know. I don't know if he just wants to ride it. So this might be the last shot of it. I don't have a motorcycle's license. The plate was 5 years expired, and there's always cops around this area, so I don't think that that's a good idea for me to take it on a little joyride. But what I can do